So, hey there, officially. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Kim Snyder with Reverse Your Funnel, and I want to officially welcome you to tonight's Sales Funnel Masterclass, where tonight I'm going to show you how to double your expert business, 13x profits, and take more out of your business without having to create a bunch of blog posts, do a podcast, post on social media, have a big email list, or even a big ad budget for that matter. Now, I'm guessing that for a lot of you, this is probably not your first webinar. In fact, I know many of you, so I know it is not your first webinar. But the first thing I want to assure everyone is that if you have failed at online sales funnels in the past, it's not your fault. There is a lot of information out there, and it can be really, really confusing. And many times that information overload is what keeps you from success. So I don't want you to beat yourself up over that. It's okay. If you've been concerned in the past that everyone else seems to be successful with online funnels, or at least claims to be, and you're not, I want to put those fears to rest as well. You can definitely do this. You just need the right person to explain it to you in the right way. You see, the internet marketing gurus all want you to think that you need a content creation machine and or a huge team and budget to be successful. And I'm here to tell you that they are wrong. They have their own reasons for wanting you to think that, but it's not true. If you've ever thought that, what works for the big guys just doesn't work for small businesses like ours, well, you probably thought right. Because here's the thing. We have very different constraints than them. Less resources, shorter time horizons, shorter attention spans, and a lot less margin for error. So that's what we're here for, okay? Because I know that you, as an expert business owner, have a dream to change the world, make an impact with your business, and I want to show you how to make that happen tonight during this webinar. Does that sound good? Great. Because my goal for this presentation is to help two types of people. For those who are struggling to either get their expert business off the ground or have become stagnated or stopped growing and can't seem to get your head around this new way of growing your business, you will get a step-by-step recipe book that tells you exactly what to do and what order to do it in. No need for interpretation or guessing. For those of you who already have a successful growing business, well, you're going to get the secret to wringing more profit out of the assets that you already have and the work you've already done. Make sense? And by the time we finish tonight, my goal is for you to understand, as I do, that the only way for us to exponentially grow a micropreneurial venture, which, by the way, I define as between 1 and 5 people doing, like, say, 2 million or less in revenue, is by focusing on the bottom of the funnel. And the only way and best way to accomplish the sorts of results that I'm going to share with you tonight is through the reverse funnel building process. Now, I was talking with one of my reverse funnel workshop members a while back in one of our one-on-one calls, and I started talking about the first course I created, one, in fact, which Heidi and JT, who were on the call, took and helped me with way back in the day. Back then, there was no such thing as an online course. We had to do it all up close and personal. Public seminars were a big thing back then. Oops, didn't mean to go to that slide. So I guess I did. I realized that I never talk about that course anymore. You know, for some reason, I only talk about the fact that we were number 826 on the Inc. list. Well, that little course that I created in 2001 to date has sold and continues to sell over $11 million in revenue. And the total sales, related sales, including consulting, software, tools, etc., is currently just over 31 million. So here's the backstory. I invented a method of investing back in the late 1990s after a well-known Wall Street brokerage firm lost everything that I had made when the first company I worked for went public. And I started teaching my investment strategy to a couple of friends in 2000. And what I was talking to Ron about a while back is the fact that in the early days, my friend / students and I would go to this Owens family restaurant near where we lived off of LBJ Freeway in Dallas, if you know the area, on Wednesday evenings. And I would sit and just brain dump on them. You know, it wasn't pretty and polished at first. It was just me getting what I was doing intuitively out of my head in a way that they could model. And then over a period of years, of course, that became this, you know, strictly codified system of investing for retirement that made a lot of people a lot of money, especially those early adopters who hung out with me at Owens. Just to give you some context, at one point, there was over $500 million invested in the Snyder Method. Now, you may be wondering what all that has to do with you. Well, when I taught investing and personal finance, I believed in the core of my being that knowing how to invest your own money was a critical life skill, like swimming. Everyone has to be able to do it in order to live 30 plus years in retirement without ending up under a bridge eating cat food. And yet, none of us were taught. We only learn the way that makes Wall Street rich, not what is best for you. So this online sales funnels is a little bit like deja vu, because guess what? The ability to acquire a new client at a profit is the single most important skill a small business owner can have. Also like swimming or investing, right? In fact, the ability to create a client at a profit, I would argue, is business. If you can't do it and you rely on someone else to do it for you, you don't have a business, they do. And I'm equally horrified that we're being taught the wrong way to do it. Now, we just covered 17 years of my life in like under a minute. And you may be wondering how I got from inventing a retirement investment method to online sales funnels and Facebook ads, and I don't blame you for that. So as Paul Harvey used to say, here's the rest of the story. So my husband and I retired from our investment firm in 2009, and we retired to Aiken, South Carolina in 2011. This is a picture of our downtown. Very, very cool, very horsey, right? And the only problem was that he had no problem being retired, and I just couldn't keep still. So I had this idea that I was going to build the first online instruction site for polo players, because we didn't have anything like that, right? We're probably the only sport that doesn't, which I ended up selling that to the United States Polo Association. But it was fun for about a year because I got to travel around the world filming the world's best polo players. And if you're a polo player, that's like a pretty awesome job. Well, while I was working on polo skills, I got involved with Infusionsoft, which we used as our back end for polo skills. And I won't go into all the gory details, but that led to me becoming an Infusionsoft certified partner. Well, after polo skills, I ended up creating an Infusionsoft custom development shop called the API Guys, mainly initially because the US Polo Association needed help supporting polo skills for a while. And turns out that there was this huge need for our services. And so it just took off, right? We were at like around $400,000 a year in revenue within a year with no marketing, no nothing, just word of mouth. And even though it was a great business and a really profitable business, it wasn't a great business for me. I just did not enjoy it. So I sold that to my project manager, Monica Burden, who still runs it. And if you need Infusionsoft or custom development or API work, I strongly recommend you talk to the API guys. So then it got really interesting. About the time I was selling the API guys, I was approached by someone in the Infusionsoft world who was supposedly this big hotshot marketing guy and big into Facebook about partnering on a piece of software that synced the contacts in Infusionsoft with Facebook so that you could tell Facebook to send those specific people in your list an ad. So it's just like saying, in your CRM or your mail platform to send an email to this list, except you're telling Facebook to show them an ad instead of an email, right? So he was supposed to do all the marketing and I was going to handle the development side, which was great because I really hadn't had to market anything online, right? Even though I'd like built all these businesses since, everything I had built since my investment firm was just organic growth in a niche market. Well, so let's just politely say that partnership didn't go well and leave it at that. In fact, I told my husband, if I ever utter the word partner again, just take me behind the equipment shed and shoot me. So when the partnership broke up, which was ugly, I ended up with the company and the software, which we renamed to Sync to CRM. And then suddenly I had to learn all this new stuff or I was going to lose my investment. And it was a lot of money. So, I'm not ashamed, I guess, to say that I was really intimidated at first, especially with Facebook ads. I drew conclusions without even knowing anything or trying anything. I just thought, like I think many people do, that it was complicated, and I was just sure that I was going to lose a lot of money trying to figure this all out. But you got to do something, right? So I started doing what everyone else does. I took good courses. I started reading the books. Was listening to the gurus on the podcast. And here's the thing: everyone, to a man or a woman, all said the same thing. They all preach top-down, content-first funnels. So that was what I did. So let me just explain the top-down funnel real quick. You start by creating a bunch of valuable content to warm up new leads. Then you show a Facebook ad to the people who visited your content to get them to opt into your lead magnet. Then you offer them a cheap tripwire offer to pay for your ads and change the relationship from prospect to customer in theory. And then finally, you offer them your core product or service. Now, there are 3 glaring problems with this approach. First is it takes a bunch of time and money to create all that stuff. A lot of time and money. Have you ever tried it? I mean, as long as I have been doing this, I am still amazed at how often I sit down and I think, oh yeah, I'm just going to whip out a quick lead magnet or quick email sequence. And like 3 days later, I am still not done. The second issue is the 80-20 rule. The 80-20 rule eats our lunch. It is a proven fact that 20% or less of the content we create produces 80% of the traffic. If you don't believe me, go in your own Google Analytics and look. 10% of the content produces 90% of the opt-ins. 20% of your emails get opened if you're lucky. Only 20% of your ads are profitable, which means 80% of your offers fail and 80% of leads drop out of the funnel without buying. That is why it is called a funnel, because people are lost at each step. The number of people gets narrower and narrower. So put the time it takes to build a funnel together with an 80% failure rate of each component part, not of the whole thing, at each stage, and it is like a recipe for disaster. Now, the way around the 80-20 rule is diligent testing at each and every step. Because if all you do is run one of everything, right? Just write one email, create one landing page, one lead magnet, just one of everything. Just do the math. 20% success rate times 20% success rate times 20% success rate times 20% success rate is 0.0032%. But because of our time and budget constraints, that is what almost all micropreneurs do, even when they have the best of intentions. And even at that, it's a lot of time and effort, right? Only to get it built out and discover all the way at the very end that crap. It's like discovering that there's a wad of bubble gum blocking the bottom of our funnel. So all that work and you get nothing or next to nothing. The truth is, what you end up building through no fault of your own, because of all the challenges that you have, is half-baked at best. It's a disease. I call it HAMS, for half-assed marketing syndrome. So maybe this sounds familiar to you too, right? I couldn't finish anything. I couldn't test anything. I didn't measure anything, and nothing was really working. Like I was just kind of limping along. So then I decided I would try outsourcing, and that didn't work either. You don't even want to get me started on that. Well, there's a saying that says when you find yourself in a hole, stop digging. So out of self-defense, just as I had done with investing, I stopped digging. And I asked myself if there wasn't a better way. I mean, there had to be, because what supposedly worked for big guys was not working for me, and it wasn't for lack of trying. So tired of beating my head against the wall is what it really amounted to. Now, I am a big fan of a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller. If you haven't read it, I highly recommend it. It is for sure in my top 5 most influential business books ever. And if you put a gun to my head and made me pick one, I think I would probably pick it as number 1 for me. So I decided to apply the one thing to my internet marketing of Sync to CRM. Now, in the one thing, you ask a clarifying question. What is the one thing that if I did it right now would make everything else easier or unnecessary? And then you do that. So what is that one thing? What was it for me? Is that content? No. It's getting people to pay you. It's making an offer that people want, so there is money coming in the door. That is what, at the time, would make everything easier for me because we were burning cash. Okay, so let's say you get that handled. Okay, you got an offer that converts, then what? Now content? No. How about leads? Well, I thought so, which was when I dived whole hog into learning Facebook advertising, which I did, but that wasn't it. I'll tell you exactly when the epiphany of the reverse funnel came. I was putting together a spreadsheet to measure the ROI on my Facebook ads, and I started messing around with some numbers. And in the moment, I realized that if I double my leads coming in the top of a funnel, okay, which is that top row, right? Double on the right. Then I may double my revenue, yes, but I also double my risk because there's a bigger ad spend. There's more work because I'm dealing with more people, and the exact same return on my money. In this case, the 20% ROI on the bottom row. But if all I do instead was, for example, to improve my conversion rate, say from 1%, in this case on the right, to 2% on the left, on the exact same number of leads, in this case 1,000, the exact same amount of work, the exact same amount of risk, my profit goes up from 20% to 140%. That's a 7x increase. And if I could get it to go from 1 to 3%, then it went up to 260% ROI, or a 13x increase, with nothing else changing. That is the small hinge that moves the big door. And in fact, that is true all along the funnel. It's the very nature of a funnel that where you lose people at each stage, that improvements that you make nearer the bottom of the funnel have exponentially greater impact on the bottom line than the ones that you make at the top of the funnel. So that's what I did. And I haven't looked back since. Okay? The top-down funnel is wrong. It takes too long. There are too many steps. Most people don't read or watch your stuff anyway. There's too much risk for too little reward. It sucks. And moreover, there is a better way, which is to focus on the bottom of the funnel. That is where the gold is. Now, you may not be in the exact same business as me or have the exact same experiences as me, but this is what we have in common. We've both been sold a bill of goods that we need content and more leads. And once we have a profitable campaign, you scale that campaign up so that you can get even more leads and create even more content and hire people and run on that hamster wheel even faster. Yeah, take a deep breath, Kim. Right? It's not right. You can see it is not right. Look at the math. So let me share with you 3 secrets that have allowed me to start a brand new business. It's a meta business, in fact, because it uses the reverse funnel to sell the reverse funnel. But to grow this business from a standing start, literally, with no list, no team, just me, no social media, no podcasts, no huge ad budget, to over 6 figures in just 6 months. And I'm here to tell you right now, if I can do it, that you can do it too. Secret number 1, the magic is in the hook. In fact, dollars to donuts, you are here right now because of my hook. I'll explain what it is and how without it, your funnel simply won't work. Secret number 2 is to fill your funnel with Facebook ads. And secret number 3 is to create a paycheck at will. Now let's go through these one at a time. Secret number 1, the magic is in the hook. So what do I mean? What is a hook? One of the things that we go through in the reverse funnel workshop is the 5P framework for describing your offer. And the 5 Ps are premise, problem, promise, process, and price. And the hook is a way of describing either the problem or the promise in a way that creates an energetic response. Now, what the heck does that mean? Well, you know how when you're in a crowded room and someone says your name and you can hear it all the way across the room over all the loud conversation and clinking silverware, and your head snaps around to see who said your name and what they said about you? It's like that. When someone who is your target audience hears your hook, You want the head snap. Now, a friend of mine, Al McCree, who also happens to be in the Reverse Funnel Workshop, he manages another friend of ours, the comedian Jeannie Robertson. Now, you may have heard of Jeannie. She was Miss North Carolina of 1963. She's 6'2" tall, very Southern. Her son's name is Beaver, no lie, and very, very funny. Now, her signature story is a bit called Never Send a Man to the Grocery Store. Well, think about that, right? For her ideal target audience, which is largely older Southern women, that hook creates the head snap, the energetic response that's produced over 25 million YouTube views and sold an awful lot of concert tickets. That is the power of a good hook. Now, for you men, Perry Marshall says it's like racking a shotgun. You know that noise you hear when someone puts a shell in and pulls back the pump handle, that chunk noise? Okay, well, that is a really distinctive sound. And it describes a problem or a promise, if you want to look at it that way, in a way that creates an energetic response. Am I right? I mean, if you're sitting with your back turned and you hear that sound, anywhere, I promise you, your head is going to snap around involuntarily. So the easiest way to structure a hook, there are multiple, but this one I like. It is how to blank without blank. Where the first blank is something that they really, really want, and the second blank is something that they really, really don't. I actually heard, someone told me the other day that Frank Kern describes this as how to yay without boo, which that works too, right? So my hook, for example, is how to grow your expert business and 13x profits so that you can take more money out of your business without needing a blog, podcast, social media, big email list, or large ad budget. Now, does that sound familiar? It should, because whether you got here because you saw a Facebook ad or an email or came to my website or all of the above, they all led with this hook. Now, remember when I told you earlier about my investment firm and that we taught people how to invest for retirement? Well, truth be told, when I first started teaching my method, when Heidi and JT, took the course, I wasn't thinking about people using it for retirement at all. I was like 30 something, young 30s, but a couple of years after I started the company, I just happened to go to this really obscure, small conference on retirement income. Okay, this was like a professional conference, nerds, not for investors, lots of academics. And I still think it's just even bizarre that I went in the first place, but thank goodness I did, because I walked away from that conference understanding that there was a massive problem bearing down on us, 76 million baby boomers without enough money to retire, and that my investment method could solve that for a large swath of them. So the first big stair step in our growth was when I found that audience and started framing the Snyder method as a solution to the retirement income problem. And that was good. But when it really took off was the day when one day on stage, I mentioned that we want to manage our investments so that we can live comfortably and without the fear of being 90 years old and ending up living under a bridge eating cat food. It was instant. In fact, you might have even felt it when I said it. For my target audience back then, that produces electricity I can feel all the way up on the stage, right? They were already looking at me, so there was no actual head snap, but it was as real as if they had. And I knew in that instant, right? It's like Supreme Court Justice Potter Stewart said about pornography. I can't define it, but I know it when I see it. I rode that hook to over 4 million a year in sales and a spot on the Inc. list 2 years in a row. And I can give you other examples as well, right? You may know, if you've watched any of my videos, that I have dogs, and I live on a 187-acre farm in South Carolina. Well, and my dogs are not very trustworthy, so there's this company called Whistle that makes GPS tracking devices that clip on a dog's collar. When Whistle first launched, they almost went bankrupt because they had the wrong hook. They were trying to sell Whistle as a way to keep track of your pet's daily activity level, like Fitbit for your dog. Oh, wrong. So you can guess, right? How did they save the company? By fixing the hook. And now the hook is never lose your pet again. The magic is in the hook. And then once you get your hook right, when you have it right, attracting qualified leads into the top of the funnel is easy. Now, so 2 guesses how we do that, meaning get the qualified leads into the top of the funnel. Lots and lots of valuable content. No, just kidding. Just kidding. I wanted to see if you were paying attention. Not content. We're going to fill your funnel using Facebook ads. Now, back to that comment about content. Look, I mean, let me just be clear about something. I'm not saying content is bad. I'm not. In fact, I built Snyder Advisors on content marketing before there was even a term for it. And, like within the last couple of weeks, this is ironic, this amazing consulting prospect fell in my lap. And when I asked him how he heard about me, guess what he said? A piece of content that I created a long time ago for Synctus CRM about how to increase relevance score. So I'm not saying that content is bad or never works. I am saying that for micropreneurs, it's not the first thing we do because it is not the one thing that makes everything else easier or unnecessary, and it won't be the one thing until almost the last thing. So no, we don't use content to fill our funnel. I rely on paid traffic and specifically Facebook advertising. Now, why? A number of reasons. One, it's fast and efficient. I have a template and a process for creating my ads now that just works. It takes me a tiny fraction of the time that it would take me to be putting, free content out all over, wallpapering the world with it, okay? It is totally controllable is the second reason. It's like my water spigot. I turn it on and leads come out. I turn it off, they stop. I don't have to worry about an unreliable supply. The third thing is it is profitable. Those of you who came into this webinar via a Facebook ad cost me on average about $1.26 each. Now, you might be thinking, well, that's all well and good, but the reason I'm getting $1.26 leads is because I have some special skill or talent. Well, I don't. What I do have is what I'm really, really good at, and that is a system. And what is a system? It's a set of steps that when repeated over and over again produces a predictable result. So let's look at Corey. Corey started the Reverse Funnel Workshop in April, and if you look at his results, which he posted in our private Facebook group, you can see that he's already been able to use what he learned to get his lead costs down from $9, which by the way is fairly, like that's in the pretty typical range, before, to under $1 now. And in fact, like way under $1, I don't know if you guys can see that, but he's at 52 cents. Okay, he's doing better than I am. Now, you're probably thinking that Facebook is hard or that it's scarier, that it's risky. Not so. And I totally get why you might think that, because I already mentioned that I was totally intimidated and overwhelmed by Facebook ads when I first started. But like so many things, when I got in there, I realized it was not hard at all. In fact, I can teach anyone the mechanics of Facebook ads. That is not the problem. In fact, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go in and create the ad that I ran for this webinar right now. And what I've done is I've made it a video. That way it's very quick and concise, and I don't have to pop in and out of my keynote presentation. Okay, so hopefully this is going to play for you guys. It's pretty short. Here we go. Okay, so I just hop out of Keynote here, and I'm going to go over to Facebook. I have some things organized for us here. Specifically, I've got my ad copy here. And what we're going to do is go to Facebook Ads Manager, which I can get to a number of ways. But in this case, I'll just click right there on my ad account. That brings me to an overview of my campaigns. So just one thing to show you very quickly, if I limit these to the campaigns that were active for this particular webinar, which is this one, and I go over here to the ad sets. Now, for those of you who don't, this was not meant to be a Facebook tutorial. We do all of that in the reverse funnel workshop. However, one of the things that I did want to show you is I had mentioned that those of you who came from a webinar had cost me, I think I said $1.40 something, because that's what it was last time I looked. However, right at the moment, you can see that you all are costing me about $1.69, okay? And this has only been running for literally a couple days, since late Sunday night, and those are the results that we're getting. Okay, so if I wanted to go create the ad that I used for this webinar, what I would do is I would say create ad, which was that green button. I pick an objective. In my case, the objective is conversions, because I want you all to sign up for something, which is my webinar. I'm going to give it a name. We'll call it Webinar Demo, is our campaign name, and I say continue. So you can see that for those of you who are not familiar with Facebook, it's very much like a wizard now. Up here, I will put the name of the audience I'm going to target. So let's just say that we are going to do Russell Brunson. So I put that there. It is, we don't want that. We want to, now it's asking, what is the conversion event that we are optimizing for? And in this case, it's registering for the webinar. Okay, I have those pre-set up. That's something that we also cover very early in the reverse funnel workshop. So I've told it that. I'm going to come in here and I'm going to, I'm not going to mess with this for now. We'll just leave it United States 18 to 65 all. But when I hit this drop down, you can see the sorts of people that I tend to target, and that is why they're appearing there in that drop down. I said we were going to do Russell Brunson. We might do more than one, but for purposes of this, we'll just do that one. We'll leave it as is there. In terms of placements, let's just say, for example, that I don't want to do Audience Network. Don't worry if you don't know what that is. I don't want to do Instagram either. And on Facebook, I only want to do the feeds. Okay, so you can see that there is a great deal of granularity depending on how much you want to go beyond the preset or recommendations. Daily budget, I can go as low as $5 a day or as high as thousands of dollars a day if I want to. I'm going to say, again, this is optimized for conversions. My click window is 1 day, meaning typically when someone's registering for a webinar, they're going to go straight, they're going to click through to the site, and they're going to convert right then and there. It's a fairly quick conversion, so I want them to optimize based on that. I let them handle the bid amount, and everything else is good. I say continue. Now, we're here, as you can see on the left-hand side, on the ad itself, and I am going to say webinar, and I'm going to say double because that's going to be the headline, I think, that I use. And I'm going to say Brunson because he was my ad target. Okay, so I'm going to come over here, create a new ad. I got to pick which page this ad is going to be attached to. That is this Kim Snyder page. For now, very simple. We'll just do a single image ad. In terms of the images, I already have some in my library that I'm going to use. But if I needed to upload a new one, it's very simple. I would do it right here. So I'm going to choose from my library, and we'll just, what the heck, use that one of the cat and say done. It's going to ask me what page on the website am I taking them to. So here is where my sheet that I write out in advance of doing these ads comes in handy. You can see that I already put my URL up here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do like that, reverse your funnel sales funnel masterclass. That is the registration page for this webinar. The headline, I have two different headlines written. I am going to go on this particular one with this one. I usually run multiple ads at the same time to test them. We'll just do this one. Purpose is only really just for those of you who have never done Facebook ads before, to show you it is probably a lot easier just in terms of the basic mechanics than you might think. Notice over here, they are giving us a preview of what that looks like as we are creating it, so we can see how it shows up for someone. And now here is my text. I use pretty long text on purpose in my ads. In fact, my ad copy is really very close to, almost identical to, in fact, an email that I write. And so I just cut and paste that right in there. There is my ad copy. I am going to put a sign up button right there down on the bottom right. The news feed link description only shows up sometimes, but I'm going to put it in there. It's going to tell you what to do. Click through to register only after you read what I wrote you above. Notice it does not show. If I had a shorter headline, it would have down below my headline, but that's okay. I put it in there anyway. And everything else, that's it. My ad is literally done. It's complete. And when I say, as I will, place order, it will go out. Facebook will review it to make sure it doesn't violate any of Facebook's terms and policies. And once they have satisfied themselves that it's a good ad, then they will turn it on and let it run. So I'm going to do that, and then we will pop back over to the webinar. Boom. All right. For those of you who haven't worked with Facebook before, was that simpler than you thought? So maybe another thing that you've been thinking is that you need to be like Ernest Hemingway, Annie Leibovitz, or Martin Scorsese to do this. You don't. As you just saw, I follow a copy template, and I reuse that over and over and over again. Change it slightly, but the same idea, the same format, same formula. The best images are the simplest ones that look like something that you would post on your news feed, like the cat or a picture of you. And there's lots of software out there that is absolutely dummy proof for making images and videos. So you don't have to worry about that. I mean, look, I promise you that when God was giving out creativity, I was hiding behind the door. So that is not an issue. Now, maybe you're thinking that, well, my market isn't on Facebook. Okay, There are now approximately 2 billion people on Facebook every single day. We're living in a world where, for better or for worse, even our president is on social media. So no matter who you sell to or where they are, there is absolutely positively a critical mass of them on Facebook. I have one student, for example, who does big six figures selling to churches online using Facebook. Okay? Because think about it. All these people, no matter who they are, what they do, they have kids and sisters and brothers and interests outside of work too. And when they're on Facebook, just because it might not be during work, they still see your ad. Does that make sense? Facebook advertising is an inexhaustible supply of cheap, qualified leads once you know how to do it, and it is much more efficient and predictable than content marketing or SEO, I promise. But maybe you're thinking that an expert can do it better than you, which is the perfect segue into the third secret. Create a paycheck at will. Now, as I mentioned earlier, I believe that the ability to create an online sales funnel is a life skill for any small business owners, like swimming, and that without it, you will drown. I also believe there is no more important job you can be doing than sales and marketing for your business. I want you to imagine this. You own a really successful business doing, let's say that you do high-end residential hardscapes, okay? And you've spent years building this into a successful business, mostly word of mouth. And now you decide that you want to expand. So you'll hire someone to come in and do your marketing for you. He starts running Facebook ads, they're successful, the business grows. Then, one day, he walks out and takes your customer list with him. Wait for it, and starts a competing firm. This happened to one of my students back in my Facebook ads mastery course. Now, what do you think he did? He hired another gal to do his Facebook advertising, but after he had learned to do it himself. If tomorrow everything else went away, all your clients, all your money, all your employees, if you can do this one thing, you still have a business. And if you can't, the person who does know has a business, right? You want to know how I went from a corporate job to starting my investment firm? I will tell you a story that I never told. I told it just one time recently before now. So Heidi, even you haven't heard the story. I mentioned earlier that I had made a lot of money when a company that I worked for right out of college went public. I was not quite 30 years old at the time, and long story short, which you can read about in my book or find in various videos online, I ended up massively in debt. Okay, well, by this time, by the time of this story, I had worked my way out of debt, but I was not in a super happy place in my life, to say the least. I was working a W-2 job that I did not enjoy. My father and sister and I had recently become estranged with my father and sister. My ego was badly bruised from losing all that money and ending up in debt. I had gained a lot of weight. I stopped taking care of myself. I was just generally in a pretty bad place still. So my mother came up with the brilliant idea that what I needed was plastic surgery. I kid you not. You can't make this stuff up. And you knew my mother, you would understand this, right? Hopefully, she's not listening. But no, it's okay if she is. Because strangely enough, it was a really good idea. And again, if you saw me running around the farm on an average day, you would think like that's just the craziest thing you've ever heard. But it was really less about the surgery itself and more of what it represented. Kind of like walking through fire at a Tony Robbins event. You know, it's not really the walking through fire. It's more about like that, making that something in your head, you know, a physical manifestation or, you know, a representation of something. I'm probably not explaining that right, but that's, for me, it was like, it represented an opportunity for a fresh start, like literally a new face, new body, everything. Like we were talking about a lot of plastic surgery. And I wanted it. But the problem was it was also a lot of money. And of course, my mother had the idea, but she wasn't going to pay for it. So I booked it for a few months later, Christmas actually, with the plastic surgeon in Durango where my family lived. And then I had to come up with a way to pay for it. And so that is how I started getting paid to teach my investment method. True story. I had taught it to a couple of my friends and they were using it really successfully. And I thought, you know, maybe I could put together a class over a weekend and that would be enough to pay for the surgery. So I did. And the rest is history, right? I had the surgery, turned my life around, did a lot of hard work in therapy, started my investment company, you know, while I was still working my W-2 job, met my now husband, and eventually quit my W-2 job to run the company full time. And then, you know, he eventually quit his job as an actuary and came to work full time as our CFO. And then $31 million of revenue later, here we are, retired, or at least he is, on our farm in Aiken, South Carolina, right? So that's the story. So while in 2000, online funnels weren't even a thing yet, the point is still the same. When you learn the skill of acquiring a customer at a profit, you can create a paycheck at will. In fact, like, I don't know if it's this way in other countries, but here in the United States, we have a major crisis where all these kids are graduating from college with hundreds of thousands of dollars of student loan debt. You know, well, instead of going to college, they can pay me $250,000 to teach them how to build a reverse funnel, and then they can pay off their tuition in a year with what I taught them instead of a lifetime, and have a true life skill to show for it. And I am not being facetious here. You know, my niece, she's 13 years old. She's already brilliant at it. Is this making sense, you guys? When you know how to create an online sales funnel, specifically a bottom-focused funnel rather than the conventional top-down approach, it does not matter what business it is, you can always make money. A profitable sales funnel is a paycheck at will. So let me ask you a question. If you could do what I showed you in secret number 1 and create a hook that compelled people to act on your offer, and then you could use that hook to do what I showed you in secret number 2 to drive qualified leads into your funnel, and if you could, as we discussed in secret number 3, convert that lead into a profitable customer anytime you want, do you think you could be successful? Yeah, you bet your bottom bippy you can. Is it just me, or is like that the cat's pajamas? It's cool, right? But I also wonder how many of you are feeling like a little bit overwhelmed, because I covered a whole lot in just under an hour. It is a lot to process. It is. So would it be okay with you guys if I spend 15 minutes or so going over a special offer that I created for you to help you implement all of this with my help in just 8 weeks? If you would, just give me if it's okay with you, just give me a thumbs up in the Q&A box if you would. Cool. Excellent. Thanks. I appreciate that. Okay. It's called the Sales Funnel Summer School. And it is a live 8-week program, at the end of which you will have your entire sales funnel built, or if you have one that isn't working the way you want, refurbished. You'll be generating as many low-cost qualified leads as you want or need. You'll be converting those leads at a healthy profit. And to our last point, you will be able to generate a paycheck at will. So here is what that looks like. First, you get 8 weekly live 90-minute training sessions with me, with Q&A and weekly assignments. And here's what you'll learn in those live sessions. In week 1, we will set up the plumbing. We'll go through the foundational concepts, set up your Facebook pixel, and commit, very important, to the implementation checklist. Then by the end of week 2, you'll have defined your ideal client, have brainstormed a list of potential hooks, and use my ingenious process, if I do say so myself, for testing which is the magic hook. By the end of week 3, you'll have your webinar done, the presentation, the landing page, and the campaigns. And I know if you think that sounds really ambitious, it is, but don't worry, because I've got more coming that's going to help you get that done in a week. By the end of week 4, we'll have your Facebook ads created and running. By the end of week 5, you'll have your long-asked email sequence done. By the end of week 6, you'll have your retargeting campaigns in place to jack up those conversion rates and profit numbers we talked about earlier. By week 7, we'll start working on increasing your lifetime value numbers, which again, bottom of the funnel, exponential impact on profit. And then finally in week 8, we'll do a wrap up and open Q&A. But hang on a second. You know what? Let me, before we go on, let me just jump back a second and make sure I'm clear about who this is for. So this is for online course creators, coaches, consultants, or anyone who makes a living from their expertise and needs an online sales funnel. It doesn't matter whether you're just getting your business started or already very successful. What matters is, 1, that you believe in yourself, and 2, that you are willing to do whatever it takes, like knock down any wall, face down a saber-toothed tiger if you have to, whatever you have to do to build the business and the lifestyle that you've always dreamt about. Now, it's quite possible that you're thinking about jumping off the call at this point because you think that, oh my gosh, like I do not have time for just even one more thing on my plate. And while I get that, I am telling you right now that that is a mistake. It is a limiting belief that is holding you back from success, because time is not the issue. Time is never the issue. Prioritization is. Because most of our days, if we're really honest with ourselves, are just filled with busyness that doesn't really move the needle. Because here's the thing, micropreneurs, which we are, have to be obsessed with creating leverage. And you want to know what leverage is? I recently ran a Facebook project that gave me 2,480% return in 2 days with an investment of 6 hours of my time. When you can get that sort of result, you make time. Simple as that. So again, when you sign up, you're going to get 2 8-hour intimate training sessions using Zoom meetings like this, right? But so that we can talk like we were together in the same room, which is a total value of $1,997. Now, also, you don't have to wait until the first live class if you don't want to, because you will get instant 24/7 access to all previous and future video content, including all member calls, bonus content, private Facebook lives for members, all of that stuff. And I say that that's a $997 value, but some of the bonus content alone is worth like way more than that. So I think I undersold that one, but anyway, it's okay. You're also going to get a 14-day free trial of my recommended CRM and email platform, which is ActiveCampaign, which is what I use. And get this, I'm going to include my personal 4-campaign webinar series, which is yours to use in your own funnel. If you decide not to keep ActiveCampaign, it's okay. You can just copy out all my emails and take screenshots of the campaigns to recreate them in whatever platform you do use. But if you do decide that you want to keep ActiveCampaign after the free trial is over, then you'll get 15% off any ActiveCampaign plan for as long as you remain a subscriber. I think that their lowest plan starts at like $9 a month for up to 500 contacts, and then you get my 15% off of that. But again, it's for any plan. So later, if you upgrade, downgrade, whatever, it doesn't matter. And here's why I'm doing this. With ActiveCampaign, you'll be able to automate your online funnel without this huge learning curve that other platforms have, and also without the high cost too. So if you were using something like Infusionsoft or MailChimp, well, in fact, Carrie's on the call, right? So she was the first person I ever gave this offer to. She was an Infusionsoft user, and now she's able to get rid of Infusionsoft, which is the whole idea. Again, I'm offering you this because when I was first figuring all this stuff out, I spent so much time trying to get all these technology pieces of the process built out. And all of that was just like, it was time and energy away from what I was really supposed to be doing, which was acquiring customers at a profit. And so, I struggled with this for several years, especially because I was an Infusionsoft certified partner. But I finally made this switch to ActiveCampaign about over a year ago now, and I've just become more and more delighted with them with each passing month. So I finally felt confident enough to start recommending them to my members. And Carrie can back me up on this. Like, I think I was spending $497 a month on Infusionsoft plus VAs, to get things set up, and I didn't even have to pay for their stinking Kickstart training. And this is like $9 a month. So anyway, I don't want you to have to do that. So not only do I want to give you an opportunity to try ActiveCampaign, which I think is hands down right now the best and most cost-effective CRM and email platform, but I'm also going to give you my 4-campaign webinar funnel, the very same one that you are in, and which has been sending you all these emails and stuff. That's all automated, right? I'm giving you that as well so that you don't have to recreate the wheel on that either. And in fact, another benefit is that you'd be working in the same system as me, so your screens and capabilities would be the same as mine. So anyway, that's an $8,997 value. Who knows, maybe more. And I'm also going to give you this slide deck, complete with annotated speaker notes that you can swipe from me to get your own webinar presentation done quickly. I told you earlier that I was going to help you get the webinar done in a week, right? Well, this is how. You start off with my stuff as a template and then modify it. Not word for word, obviously, right? But use it as a framework and modify it. Because here's the thing. Do you think that the words and sequencing of this presentation are random? Well, okay, let's lift the tent flaps up just a little bit. Of course they're not, right? They are designed to convert you to a buyer. Now, because I obviously have a vested interest in you being successful, if you take my program, then the easiest way to make that happen, I have discovered, is to just give you what I have that already works instead of making you figure it out on your own. What was I thinking? That's been probably my biggest learning of the beta group. So that's what I'm doing, and that is a $1,497 value. And then when you invest today, you're also going to get another swipe file, this one containing my best performing Facebook ad copy for cold traffic. If you don't know the term cold traffic, that's just people who've never heard of you before, which is most people. And and we typically would write different copy for them than you would for someone who has heard of you before. That cold traffic is also the hardest to convert, by the way, but that's what most of you are here today. So I'm going to give you the swipe file on my template that I use for my ads. And this is a big deal because I've worked on this ad copy, pretty much nonstop for almost a year to get it perfected. And I don't know how much money I've spent in ads to test it, but you can see, right, that it's generating webinar leads at about just over $1 a piece, which is fabulous. Most people are very happy to be getting webinar leads at like $7 to $10. I saw Pete said when I mentioned that was dollar was pretty good. And then, you're not going to have to go through all that time and expense because I'm just going to give it to you as a special bonus. So that way, it'll just be much, much, much faster and easier for you to generate those low cost qualified leads we talked about. So that is a $797 value. You guys want to get your hands on that? I know I sure would have back in the day. What's next? Let's see. I also realized if we're going to get your funnel built in 8 weeks, well, then we can't be messing around with which tools are the best. That's like just a procrastination trap waiting to happen. So for the first time, I'm now including my 2017 members only tools and sources list, which you'll have instant access to as soon as you register, which also includes a couple of my special offer deals that people have extended and a freebie, I think, or two that are just for my members. That is $797 value. Next, you're going to get 6 months of our private Facebook discussion group. That's where all my peeps hang out to help one another out and get their questions answered and brainstorm ideas. And then, of course, I'm in the group too, almost on a daily basis, which is a $997 value. You'll get 6 months of twice monthly live member calls with me. Those are on the second and fourth Monday of each month. The first one is about your funnels. We do a member hot seat where we go through your funnel and review it as a group, give recommendations, suggestions, and also sometimes learn from the funnels of some of our more successful members. Or we do an open Q&A, just kind of depends. The second call of each month is about my funnel, because part of this program is that it's designed as an ongoing case study where I share with you at least once a month on this call, but also in the Facebook group, what I'm doing and learning and failing at and succeeding at and what results I'm getting from all the different ideas that I'm experimenting with in my own funnel and those of my private clients. So that is a $2,976 value. And then finally, the big, big deal that makes this really special is that you will also get up to 12 weekly 1-hour one-on-one calls with me. So that is 4 months of weekly calls where you and I work together to implement the reverse funnel in your business. And now you might be or not aware that I offered those calls to my founding members when I first started this program in November, and I took them away fairly recently because I just don't have the time to do them for everybody. But one thing that has been very interesting and very clear when I looked at the 60 or so founding members of the program, and you look at which ones are most successful, it's obvious that the ones who invested in the coaching with me are doing better. Now, we can argue about whether that's about the fact that I'm so great or that there's a built-in accountability factor or what. But the fact remains that those folks are getting far better results than the ones who are trying to figure it out on their own. Just saying. So that is a $12,700 value. So when we total all that up, the grand total is $31,755. Now, let me ask you this. If all we did was create a hook that turbocharged every piece of your marketing content that you put out from here on out, every email, every business card, every brochure, every podcast, every ad, would that be worth $31,000 to your business? if all we did was bring in an inexhaustible supply of low-cost profitable leads, would that be worth $31,000? Of course it would. Now, obviously, I'm not going to charge you $31,000, but if I did charge you that much, $31,000, if all it did was allow you to create a paycheck whenever you needed it at will, would it be worth $31,000? No brainer, right? Well, here was my dilemma. I had two choices here. I could go as cheap as possible, like everyone else, and try to sell as many as possible. But, that's not me. There's a couple of problems with that. One is that that's not what I enjoy. And two is I didn't really feel, well, that way I just can't really pile on value for you guys. So I went with the other option, which is obviously a bit more money, but in exchange for that, I can dedicate more time and energy and resources to help guarantee your success. So if you had a successful online sales funnel today, what would it be worth to you? Like, how much would you pay? If money weren't an object, how much would you pay to have that one successful sales funnel? You could probably see, right, why people pay gobs of money for someone to create these things for them all the time. Heck, they pay more than $31,000 for just a single profitable sales letter, much less sales funnel. And that's because it's not a cost, it's an investment. You've already seen, right, how it's worth $31,000. But anyway, because what I really need right now is some powerful case studies from uber successful students like you guys, I'm going to give you a very special offer of only $1,997. Okay? But you've only got a few days to decide, and I hate that. So you've only got, right, but seriously, here's why. Because the first live class is next Thursday, so you really do. We start 1 week from tomorrow at same time, same station, 5 p.m. On Thursday afternoon, and so you've got 1 week to get in. And not only that, but again, like no BS, that huge prospect that I said came my way because of the Facebook Live. Well, I signed them as a private consulting client, and they are huge. We are spending $7,000 a day in the U.S. only to start, and they want to expand into 8 more markets within the next 6 months. And I'm not only doing their Facebook ads, but this is the cool thing, actually. And this is really why I took the job. I'm applying the reverse funnel to their sales funnel in exactly the same way I have to mine, and that I'm about to teach you to do in yours, which is so fun because I get to try this out at scale. Ooh, it's someone else's money. But I tell you that because no BS scarcity thing, it is highly, unless I shouldn't say fired because I'm not going to get fired, but unless something changes and they no longer need my services for some reason, which could happen. It's just a trial for both of us at this point, but assume it's going really well. And assuming it continues to do that, it's highly unlikely that you're going to see a live anything from me, at least for new members. Not for my current members, but after this one, because to be fair to them, I just can't devote that much time. As much as I love teaching live, I really do, way more than done for you. But anyway, I'll likely continue to offer the online course, but I have no idea when I'm going to have time to do something like this again. So if you want to work with me directly and you want a cram session where by the end of this summer you have your funnel built, aka a paycheck at will, then this is your one shot, not later, now. So now you've got two choices. Choice number one is to do nothing. If you do nothing with the information you've learned in the last hour, then what do you get? That's right, nothing. Or you can choose to take a leap of faith, believe in yourself and the business or the idea for a business that you have, and work with me to implement the reverse funnel in your business and have a profitable sales funnel up and running by the end of summer. And then one last thing. I keep saying that, you're covered by my lifetime honor guarantee. Now, this is something I've changed the way I'm doing this just recently, and here's why. I know this works because this is the exact same process that I'm using in my own business and for very large consulting clients. I never teach anything that I don't do myself ever. I eat my own cooking always. However, if you're on the fence or if other trainings have left you skeptical, then I want to give you I want to give you the chance to take advantage of this with absolute confidence. So here's how this now works. You can get a full refund anytime, lifetime, provided you show me you've done the work and it didn't work for you. That's fair, right? Because if you don't give it your full effort, that's on you, not me. I'm not guaranteeing your work or effort, but I am more than confident guaranteeing mine. So the real question is this: is it worth gambling a few hours of your time to do the work? Because if you believe in yourself, if you believe that with a guide and the proper system, you can build a better business. Even if it does a tiny, tiny fraction of what I've claimed today, it'll pay for itself with like one stinking client. If it works, you have a successful, profitable business. And if it doesn't, first of all, I guarantee that you will have learned a lot and you get your money back. Now, before I take your questions, I just want to say one more thing. I swear, one more, okay? I'm guessing that there are two kinds of people listening to me right now. You are either a doer or a dabbler. The dabblers love to sit and listen and learn, but they rarely ever do anything. And they often look for any excuse not to move forward. Now, some of you, I hope many of you, most of you are doers. You're not quite sure how this is going to work for you, but you see how it works for me and for other people. So, you have faith that it's going to work for you as well. And what I found is, I'm a doer, okay? Obviously, anyone who knows me knows that, right? And what I found is that it's the doers who get ahead in life, while the dabblers just don't ever really seem to get anywhere. Are you a doer or are you a dabbler? So that's my question to you. What questions do you guys have for me? You can type them in. That went a little bit longer than 15, but not, but that's pretty close, right? I'll be happy to answer anything that you guys want to ask. Carrie, I'm just now seeing, I'm looking up to see like your running commentary. Pretty cute, pretty funny. All right, questions. Heidi, do you need a product based on your expertise already to sell, like an online course or ebook or whatever? You do, okay, a couple things. That's a great question because it's going to cover a couple of things. You don't have to have your course ready to sell. And in fact, one of the things that I talk about, which I didn't talk about at all in this program, but is basically, I believe my programs are like the one thing meets the lean startup. And so I really don't believe you should ever build anything until you've proven that you can sell it first. And so an example of that is, well, let's just imagine what I'm doing right now. Imagine that I had never taught the reverse funnel before. Okay, so what I did is exactly what I'm doing right here today. And I'm saying we're going to do this live. And then when I'm done with it, we're going to take the recordings and we're going to put it in the membership site and then we're going to resell it. And that way, if nobody ever bought this, then I would not have spent a bunch of time creating something that nobody bought, which is why everything is in reverse in my method. You don't build your sales page first, you build it last. Everything, it's minimum viable product, minimum viable, minimum viable, minimum viable. You prove it and you move on to the next thing in order to create the domino fall. And in fact, it's not hypothetical. That is exactly how I built this program. Those first 50 members of my, the founding members of this reverse funnel bought it before there was a course, and that was why they got the price they got. I didn't even really completely know at that time what the reverse funnel was going to look like, which is something that you can kind of appreciate. So, and I got 50 people and they bought it. And so we made it, and then we've gone from there. So the answer to that is no. If you do find, because most people don't know that, but no, if I was advising you, I would say, do not stop and build what you're going to do. Do it the other way around. Now, having said that, I want to just be really clear about another thing, because you mentioned ebook. So this course, the reason I say that it's best my target audience is online course creators, coaches, consultants, and other experts. Facebook advertising, it's not that it can't work for low dollar offers, but it's really hard, really hard. So in an ideal world, what I teach and the way I teach it, the method I teach, is really ideally suited for something that has a lifetime value of $500 or more. So for example, if you're doing a subscription plan, like Sync to CRM, it's not $500 right up front, but the lifetime value needs to be that. It's just really hard. You've got to be really spot on with your Facebook advertising and not make any room for testing or errors. The lower those dollar values get. Now, obviously, the reverse is also true. The higher the dollar value is of your lifetime value, the easier it is to make profitable. So I just want to say, ebook is not the right. I think that was might have been hypothetical on your part, but that would not be the sort of thing that was ideally suited for the reverse funnel. Okay, great question. Let me know if you have anything else on that. Sunny, I've been getting a huge proportion of fake clicks, even using interest groups. What is the best way to avoid this fake click problem? That's interesting. So what is your basis for saying they are fake clicks? Because that's just, in my experience, not an issue. So how do you know that they're fake clicks? I'm curious about that. I'm going to go on to the other question, and I'll let you reply. I wonder, someone else just wrote me recently. I wonder if you're the same person about that. Rich says, Kim, is this program, do we still get access to the online DIY course too? Yes, you do. So I'll tell you why I'm doing this as a live program. It's two things, two reasons, one for you, one for me. I have a theory based on watching the people try to make their way through the program on their own, that if I do this in a structured way with like an 8-week timeline and me, meeting with me every week, that I can get a higher completion rate. We all do it, right? I can't even tell you how many courses I've bought in my lifetime that I meant to complete, but didn't. But what I remember from doing live seminars back in the day was, people paid their money. They showed up in a hotel room for 2 days and they had to get through the entire thing, and they start 80-90% of the people started. And so that's something that I'm playing with to try to find how I can get a higher percentage of people starting and completing the entire thing. And doing it in the right order. So that's one reason. Two, I'm testing an offer. I eat my own cooking, right? This is a test, which we'll talk about in the program. But three, to your point, Rich, the original videos that I did have become dated since I started, back the first of the year. So much has so much detail and nuance and new information, and Facebook has changed so much in 6 months that I need to redo the videos. So on a completely self-serving note, the fastest way, and just the same thing I told Heidi, right? The fastest way for me to get those done is almost as if I was starting this course from scratch. So I will be taking the recordings of this program that I do with you guys and replacing the old videos from before with them. That said, yes, you do get a access to them, whatever is on there previously, and that would be there the moment you signed up for this. Okay, so that was a long-winded way of getting able to answer multiple questions. So Sunny says 0 time on site when they click. And also what I discovered is that desktop only gets rid of most of them. Interestingly, the fake clicks have almost exactly twice as many clicks as click-throughs. I assume to click on click more in the button. When I changed to desktop only, I immediately started getting more time spent on site and conversion to list sign up. And almost never are there more clicks than the actual click through. So, I mean, first of all, I don't pay attention, I'm not even looking at that. This is very similar to, and I don't know that it's, I just can't really even speak to a fake click-through problem, right? And it's something that people used to talk about years ago, but I don't know that it's, most people think it's an urban myth. I'd be more than, now I actually, because of this large client, have access to a Facebook rep. So I'd be more than happy to help you and out of my own interest now to ask them about your question. But that being said, for me, it's still not, it's a distraction, because it's the exact same thing that I tell my very big clients, right? We only care about one number. And that number at the end of the day is the CPA, which is the cost per acquisition. And then we can work backwards to cost per webinar client or cost per consultation or cost per whatever. And the rest of it is just a cost of doing business. So if I'm paying for fake clicks, as long as, and I don't know that I am, I don't think I am actually, but if I was, and I get within, my profit and a profitable customer, a large enough percentage of the time that CPA number is low enough, then what do I care? If I get people to sign up, several hundred people signing up for this webinar at $1.26 each, and if some of those are fake clicks, I don't care. So I can't speak to what it is that you are doing or not doing, or what that might be causing that. But what I do know is that it is and should be more than possible to to run these ads profitably for you, given what I know about your business, from what you wrote me earlier. So, yeah, 100% of your budget is just, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, that makes no sense. Like, why would they be targeting you and no, nobody else? I don't get it. Because I'm not getting that. Nobody else is talking about that. I just don't know. I don't know. To be honest, I don't know the answer. And I don't have an answer for you, to be honest, because I'm just not seeing that. I don't know. Gary, you're funny. Okay, what else? Deborah, you are very, very welcome. Okay, let's see. What else? What are the dates? Oh, well, that's a very good question, isn't it? So I think I mentioned it starts Thursday, June 22nd. That is a week from tomorrow, and goes for 8 weeks. So the last session will be August 10th. I haven't decided if it'll be 5 or 5:30. I guess I'll probably ask the people who sign up, which would be better, but sometime right around this time. 90 minutes, stopping at 7 p.m. Okay, this one is it's kind of, well, a little bit similar to what Heidi asked earlier. I'm planning to start a course while I continue working my job, which I hate. Yeah, I literally don't have anything. Is it really feasible that I could be up and running in 8 weeks? Um, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say it if it wasn't feasible. Now, that said, you know, and part of what makes it feasible is what I was just saying to Heidi, right? About we aren't going to build something until until we know that we can sell it, you know. So what makes it feasible is, yeah, we're going to totally have to bust our tail to get this done, but it's doable because you don't have to. And one of the beauties of the way of doing it this way is this kind of working backward thing. The fact that you don't have a list and you're not doing an email list, it doesn't matter. So I started this in November, and my email list is now up to about is of 3,800 people. I could click over and look at it. It's not quite as responsive as my old list. So because I didn't use paid advertising to acquire those, I used to get something like around a 27% open rate. And on this list that I've created by running Facebook ads, it's at about an 18% open rate, but still a pretty engaged list, and I'm pretty happy with it. So kind of the point of this is that we build what we need, we build what we want backward. By doing the process, you build your email list, you build your course, you build your marketing materials as you prove each step. That's the beauty of working backwards, and it makes it faster, much faster, because you're only doing what is the one thing. Right? It's the one thing meets the minimum viable product. Yep. Okay. Next one. I tried running Facebook ads before and it didn't work. Are there certain businesses that Facebook ads don't work for? Yeah. The answer is yes and no. It's more about, there are certain businesses that it doesn't work for profitably. There are people who do it. They're just maybe, have tricks that I don't know, like e-commerce. When you have thousands of products that are really low dollar amount and low profit margin, for me, those are hard. Anything low profit margin and low dollar are hard. Anything that, of course, Facebook is against Facebook's terms of service, it won't work. I've heard that even like Bombardier does Facebook advertising for their jets and train equipment. So, but I think that's more of like a brand thing. It's not really like, obviously not direct marketing conversion. But short of that, I think anything on the like really super high end and really super low end, it can work for anything. Yes. That's been my experience. Yeah. Thank you for all those comments, Carrie. Yeah, mine is 800, but open rate is 39%. Yeah, that's an awesome open rate. I mean, that is one of the things that, makes me kind of sad as I've, go out and aggressively go after webinar attendees, is that percentage goes down, but it's on a bigger number, so I'm still reaching bigger people. And I guess what makes me sad about it is that I just don't feel like I'm kind of like having that personal relationship with as many peeps, but it works. It's working, and so you can't argue with success. Growth sucks. All right, let's see, any other questions? No? All right. Those were great questions. Thank you guys for those. All right. So I'm just going to wrap up, and it'll be quick, I promise. So if you're ready to change your life and your business in just 8 weeks, then this is what you need to do. You need to go to reverseyourfunnel.com and register. I've changed out the homepage, so it's right there on the homepage, so you don't have to remember any fancy URL. Just go to reverseyourfunnel.com and scroll down. Which, by the way, here's where the idea for the Sales Funnel Summer School came from. I will tell you just a quick story, I swear. So in spite of the spreadsheet that I showed you in the beginning, I am actually terrible at math. Like my verbal scores on my SATs were in the top 99th percentile. And the differential between those and my math scores might have been like the highest ever seen on a college, college entrance exams. And I don't know why that is, because I do understand math at a conceptual level. Like I can figure stuff out like that on the spreadsheets, and I can tell a computer how to do it. But like whenever there are numbers involved, it's just terrible, right? So sure enough, my freshman year, I went to the University of Colorado. I got a D in business math. So I came up with this strategy. The summer before my freshman year, I'd gone to summer school so that I could, because I'm kind of OCD and I'm very shy, believe it or not. And so that way I could get the lay of the land before the crush of 60,000 people showed up. And it was great, right? So from then on, what I decided to do was I saved all the classes that I knew I would struggle with, like statistics or calculus, for summer school. Because I knew that the only way I was going to get a decent grade in any of those was to, one, get a tutor, which I did, and then two, just bust my ass for 6 weeks, right? And the whole time I would sit there and I would tell myself, I can do anything for 6 weeks. I can do anything for 6 weeks, even statistics, right? And it worked. I didn't get A's, but I did get B's. So when I was thinking about how many people that I see who, they know they need to get a profitable sales funnel, but they just can't seem to get it done. Well, I thought summer school. You get a tutor and bust your ass for 8 weeks, and just like me, you'll have a life skill that will pay dividends for the rest of your life, right? So that's kind of where the whole summer school idea came from. And again, to get all of this right now, you can just here, I'll like draw. I had to put it up here because I ran out of room. Oops, it's up there. You can go to reverseyourfunnel.com and register today. I will look forward to seeing you 1 week from tomorrow in the group. And come on, y'all. Let's get growing.